Okay, we are live.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is October 20th, 2025. Thank you for coming to today's Community Advisory Committee meeting. My name is Michael Ross. I'm the Director of Stakeholder Engagement for the NYCHA Monitors. We're here at NYCHA's office at 90 Church Street. This meeting is also being recorded and live streamed, and we will post the video recording on the Monitor's website at www.nychamonitor.com. For those here, there is an attendance sign-in sheet, and we will post the list of attendees for the meeting there. For those joining online, we'll take your name down from your attendance online. Let me, of course, welcome our returning resident member, Mr. Hall from Gun Hill Houses in the Bronx. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I'd like to extend a welcome to our newest resident member, Ms. Neldolino from Gowanus Houses in Brooklyn. Thank you very much for being here. The Monitors recently issued their September 2025 report, which I wanted to note for the record. It's available on the Monitor's website at www.nychamonitor.com/reports. All of the Monitor's reports are available there for public review. Now we'll move on to our agenda. First, we will have a presentation from NYCHA on lead. This will be presented by Jacqueline Sullivan, the Senior Vice President for Healthy Homes, Carolina Parich-Kozlowski, the Director of the Lead Hazard Control Department, and Indu Nambiar, the Deputy Director of the Lead Hazard Control Department. Second, we will have time for a safety and security update, as we always do, from Chief Secreto. And third, if there are any issues any committee member wants to raise, in addition, time permitting, we will have time for that at the end. With that, I'm going to turn it over to NYCHA's lead presentation. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carolina Parich-Kozlowski, and I am honored to represent the Lead Hazard Control Department at NYCHA. Together with me is Jacqueline Sullivan, Senior VP to Healthy Homes, and Indu Nambiar, Lead Hazard Control's Deputy Director. Today, we will walk you through NYCHA's commitment to keeping your homes safe from lead-based paint. In this presentation, we'll review the health effects of lead, describe how lead testing and abatement work, report on our progress, and explain what you can do to support a lead-free future. Feel free to jot your questions. I'll take breaks throughout the presentation and answer them. Why lead safety matters. Imagine a toddler playing on the living room floor while invisible dust settles from a deteriorated window frame built decades ago. The dust might contain lead-based paint. A metal once celebrated for making paint durable but outlawed for residential use in 1978 because of its toxicity. Homes built since are largely lead-free, yet most NYCHA buildings predate the ban and might still harbor layers of lead-based paint beneath newer coatings. Over time, that paint cracks and flakes, and even few grains of dust can be enough to harm a child. Lead exposure damages developing brains and nervous systems, stunts growth, and causes lifelong learning and behavioral issues. Nationally, roughly 29 million homes still have lead hazards, and about 2.6 million of them house young children. NYCHA's Lead Hazard Control Department exists to break that cycle in New York City, so that our children's play does not come with an invisible risk. What is lead-based paint? Lead-based paint isn't just old paint. It's defined by the amount of lead it contains. In 2021, New York City lowered the threshold for what counts as lead-based paint from 1.0 to 0.5 milligrams of lead per square centimeter, setting the strictest standards in the nation. This matters because many pre-1978 apartments, including those in NYCHA, have multiple paint layers. Lead might still sit beneath newer coats of paint. As those layers age, friction from, for example, opening a window or closing a door, grinds tiny lead particles into dust. Children often crawl, play, and put objects in their mouths so they can ingest or inhale that dust. When we talk about lead-based paint hazard, we mean any peeling, damaged, or friction-worn surface that can generate chips or dust. Recognizing the stricter definition helps us find and fix more of these hidden dangers, and it underscores why NYCHA's testing and abatement work is so critical. Our department's overview. After the 2019 agreement with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, NYCHA's lead hazard control department grew dramatically. Our mandate is to make sure every NYCHA residence is free from lead-based paint. To accomplish this, we organize specialized teams for testing, abatement, internal control, and quality assurance, each with its own clear responsibilities. The department is overseen by Senior Vice President Jacqueline Sullivan, Director Karolina Peruk-Kozłowski, and the Deputy Director Indu Nambiar. We coordinate closely with NYCHA's compliance and environmental health and safety divisions to adhere to all applicable regulations. The upcoming slides will show how each team advances this shared goal. Is there any questions so far before I proceed to move more technical?
You can click now.
Are there any questions on the chat?
Are there any questions so far?
Yes, you mentioned 1978
Yes.
is when NYCHA, I guess I could say, woke up and realized that this lead is in fact in existence amongst the developments.
Yeah, so in 1978, lead-based paint was banned nationwide, and we haven't been using lead-based paint for residential paintings since then.
Okay, I can recall, and I don't know which year, there was a fire in a staircase, and the fire rushed up the staircase, and a lot of people were injured. And I remember the staircase paint changed, and I don't want to familiarize you with the lead-based apartments, but do you also do the staircases with that same paint, or is there a different type of paint that's utilized in NYCHA developments in the staircases now?
So I believe that I know that lead-based paint hasn't been used for staircase painting recently since 1978, although before pre-1978, staircases most likely could also be painted with lead-based paint.
Okay.
I'll just add, the ban on lead-based paint is for residential paint, so it would have included for common areas such as lobbies, stairwells, basements, centers, things like that. So that's the federal ban on lead-based paint. New York City banned it in 1960, so 18 years before the federal ban.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions to this point? Questions online? Okay, thank you.
Let me now walk you through the lead hazard control department activities. Testing, abatement, and interim control. Lead hazard control focuses on three types of interventions. XRF testing. XRF testing is identifying where lead is present. We conduct X-ray fluorescence inspections in occupied units, vacant apartments, and soon daycare centers. The XRF device measures lead through multiple layers of paint without damaging walls and provides instance readings. It can detect lead at or below the strictest 0.5 micrograms per centimeter squared threshold. Where more accurate confirmation is needed, we might also collect a small paint chip sample, which later is sent to a specialized lab for analysis. After each XRF testing, a standardized report is being prepared by our vendors. Once the report is finalized and unit is classified as either positive or negative, the residents will receive a letter called Notice of Evaluation stating the results. Report received is being reviewed by our quality assurance team and results are being recorded in our system of records called Maximo. Lead abatement. Lead abatement means permanently removing lead-based paint. This includes paint removal and replacement of components coated with lead-based paint. Abatement is performed by EPA-certified contractors using strict safety controls. Interim controls are temporary measures used when abatement isn't immediately feasible. This might include repainting or sealing damaged surfaces, performing deep cleaning to remove dust, and conducting risk assessment and dust sampling to ensure a safe environment. Each of these activities plays a critical role in reducing exposure while we work towards comprehensive abatement. How do we test for lead? Let's take a closer look at our testing efforts. We rely on a handheld XRF analyzer, and that's the machine on the picture, to scan painted surfaces. This technology is the industry standard because it's non-destructive, requiring no scraping or drilling, and delivers instant results. If an XRF reading is inconclusive or a surface is too irregular, we collect a small paint chip sample and send it to an accredited lab for confirmation. Since the program began, NYCHA has used XRF to inspect more than 129,000 apartments. And our aim is to reach every pre-1978 unit by the end of 2025. We are currently on track. Field teams have reported that we have currently attempted all the units. Now we're recording those attempts in Maximo to ensure transparency. Looking ahead, we're planning to expand testing into NYCHA's daycares early next year, because those spaces are another environment where children could be exposed to lead hazards. By the end of September 2025, we have completed XRF inspections in 129,564 apartments. It's about 88% of our target universe of 147,184 pre-1978 apartments. Of the units tested, 58,017, 45% of the tested universe, tested positive for lead at or above 0.5 milligrams per centimeter square, and will require lead abatement, while 71,547 units, 55% of the tested universe, tested negative. These numbers underscore the magnitude of the challenge, but also our progress. Each completed test provides clarity about where hazards exist and help us prioritize abatement. NYCHA will reattempt the units that our inspectors initially did not get to access to finish the remaining testing, but this will require residents' cooperation. Allowing inspector access and responding to scheduling calls and notices is crucial. Residents receive written notices and a robocall ahead of each inspection and must either be home at the time of the scheduled appointment or proactively reschedule their appointments in order for us to access the units and finish our testing. Is there any questions on the testing?
Ms. Lino, please go ahead.
Okay, here we go. How's everyone doing? Sorry. So I had some concerns in regards to, lead. I'm not sure if I communicated with you or someone in your department. So in Gowanus, in 2022, there were lead-based mold, whatever the testing that happened at that time. And then it seems like, most residents did not receive their results, okay? Now, I'm gonna fast forward from 2022 to 2025. So I'm not sure if you all are aware that Gowanus is going under the comprehensive modernization, under that program. And so during April of 2025 to June 2025, there was an inspections done in certain people's apartment. I thought it was going to be all the apartments, but apparently that's not what occurred. For me, I never received mines, right? So that's what made, because I'm a person that I'm very diligent about finding out what actually is going on. I did my research, right? And then I had to, I was told to reach out to the property management in terms of getting the results, right? When I actually contacted property management, they stated to me that it pretty much wasn't responsible. That did not make sense to me, right? So I went on and found out more research, and I think Daniel Green, he was the health person at the time, right? And he actually came to Gowanus, and me and him had a conversation, and he said he was gonna, assist me with that. But it was actually the property management, because that is the steps. Property management, from property management, you call CCC, and then so forth, right? And so when I finally got to speak to someone, and matter of fact, it was the superintendent, I finally got my results and they tested positive. So my thing, if I didn't do my due diligence, I would have never known about the results. And I'm finding about it 3 years later. That's not cool. So if it happened to me, I'm quite sure it might be happening to other residents in the development as well. Now, my thing is like, we talk about, making sure people's quality of life is important. My thing is like, ensure that, right? The property management should be making sure that each resident has their test results. It's very important because it says by law, all residents should have their test results. And like I said, I was the one that got mine, but then when I actually I got mine 3 years later. When I spoke to other residents, they didn't get theirs. Neither. So my thing, can y'all walk me through the steps on what is the process on how this, actually goes about in terms of getting your test results?
So your results are being sent out through mail or hand delivered depending on the XRF testing vendor. I'm not really sure why you haven't received your results or where was the break that happened. You and the other residents, we can certainly check on our end who was the testing vendor at that time. But all of the results are accessible at Maximo. We store all of the testing data there as well as the report and notice of evaluation. So the property manager can always pull this information from Maximo. On your CBO portal, you're also having your lead disclosure updated, so you can check if the testing has been concluded and the results have been uploaded in Maximo. You should have your disclosure updated as well.
I just want to add, so I'm sorry to hear about your experience because we do value transparency in this department, and especially with lead, we do feel like it is very important to be transparent with everybody. What she's talking about, the disclosure that's in CBO, that should also be handed to you every year at your annual recertification by your property manager, and that would have your results as well. So even if you didn't get it initially in 2022, you should have had it in your annual recertification. I'm not saying that you didn't, but there are multiple layers of ways that residents should be informed about their results along the way. You can always call CCC, and you can always reach out to the lead department directly, and we'd be happy to provide your information as well. But we'll definitely take your information after this and look into your specific case and get back to you.
Awesome, because like I said, there was testing done. So my understanding, like you said, it's supposed to come through the mail, right? So, there's phases, there's 8 stages in terms of people with the renovations. So even though it's just the kitchen and the bathroom, there will be some apartments, depending on what the test results are, right? Let's say if you got positive, they came out positive in one of the bedrooms, right? Outside of the kitchen and the bathroom, they need to remove that, right? That's transparency. Don't just say, oh, we just doing the kitchen and the bathroom, but then y'all not talking about the other part, right? Because at the end of the day, you're gonna still need access to go into the bedrooms. You understand what I'm saying? And that was not communicated until I had to actually bring that question up into one of our residents' meeting, right? So my thing is about, if you say that we want to be in partnership with the residents, we want to have a better quality of life, be transparent. You know, instead of just, I call it dancing salsa around the situation. But yeah, just be transparent. But thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hall.
Yes, this is quite problematic. I'm listening and I'm hearing what you're saying. But number one, if a resident moves into a housing development and they don't go to meetings, they don't realize the importance of this lead, they don't know the history of this lead exposure. If they don't go to meetings, they don't care for the most part. That's number one. But number two, on a management level, when you talk about Maximo, when you don't have a structured management, and when I say a structured management, a manager who's there, a manager that has been there for a period of time, not just getting there, because a manager who just gets there, they don't really know the residents. They have to research the terrain to be effective. In order to do what you are initiating, you have to have clear transparency across the board. And I mean, people helping people to educate them on the severity of the lead, what it does. It's very problematic, you know. And the way that you deal with the daycare centers, it sounds secondary. And I kind of believe those daycare centers should be done first and foremost. And this was something else. And I only say that because Mr. Green's name was mentioned. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that's a gentleman who really cares about daycare centers, all right? He personally came uptown to a daycare center that had problems and authorized the appropriate overtime to get things done. And the regular way of things being done becomes problematic because we're all trying to cut costs. And there's no cutting of costs when you're talking about things like lead. And this is what happens. So it's not about blame. This is kind of something that everybody needs to understand. Because I'm listening, but I know the pitfalls. I know how people think. And I know how people are not going to be home. And they don't want to be home. And as I mentioned, Ms. Sullivan, they'll sit there and tell you, I don't want to go in a hotel. Because I heard when I go in a hotel, I lose stuff and people steal stuff. So I don't want to do this. So you know what? You're not coming in my apartment. And this is the mentality that erupts when there's not a consensus understanding as to the degree of severity. And in order to do that, there's got to be more paperwork that people need to read, right? To get an understanding. I have meetings. But when I get meetings, I get 40, 50 people, and they say I'm great because I got 50 people. I got almost 1,500 people in my development. What are they gonna do? Call the people who showed up at the meeting? So all of this needs to be taken into account when we talk about how the effectiveness or the road to be effective is created. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
So I just want to respond. So we agree lead is very important, and we agree that there is no cutting corners with environmental hazards. So it is a long road with lead, right? The scale at NYCHA is huge, right? We're getting into most units. As you can see, we've already gotten into 88% of units and had those reports QA'd, and residents now have their lead status available either through Siebel or at their property management office. So we are getting cooperation with the residents through testing, and we are getting really good cooperation on the abatement side of things. People are opting in to the program and letting us, relocate them and make their units lead-free. A cost is not something that we're worried about. We're gonna do it right. So we are making sure that we're abating by removal or component replacement and really making sure that the units are permanently lead-free. And we come to meetings like this. We do agree resident communication is important. We also go to tenant association meetings. We have our tempo abatement team out there tabling at events. The city just released a report on lead. So we are trying as much as we can to educate residents about the importance of lead and how they can become involved and really reach out to us to get their unit lead free.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Ms. Lino, Mr. Hall, other questions on this before we move on?
No.
There is also multiple channels that the residents can contact us. We have temple flyers all around the development. We can also provide it to you if you would like to distribute it for your management.
Yeah, I would like that. I believe transparency is really the key. And when you have problems of this nature, you have TA presidents. I know when the lead folks came to my development, I looked for a list of people that they could not contact. And I tried to get neighbors to contact them at night to make that opportunity progress. But this is what I'm saying, you have to have people helping people to get this across to be effective, especially in this particular scenario dealing with NYCHA.
We agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like, the information because, our residents need to know. I was not even aware that you all do go to resident meeting. I did not know that, so thank you for sharing that.
Of course, and we always welcome any invitations, and we're happy to educate residents, and we're a very resident-friendly department. Our phone numbers are available, and any escalation, any question, any comment, we always try to answer and engage residents as well. We feel it's very important to, and it also spreads a good word about the department, so it's very important as well. Alright, so I'm gonna begin, I'm gonna start speaking a little bit about abatement so we can kind of see the process. When the lead-based paint is found, residents are notified through a written notice of evaluation. We've covered that a little bit. This letter is either mailed or hand-delivered based on the vendor, and it lists every building component identified as containing lead-based paint in a particular unit. Lead Hazard Control Department has two main pathways for abatement. One is through tempo program and the other one is through the vacant unit turnover. If a unit is currently occupied by a resident, abatement is performed under the tempo program, and if the unit is vacant, the work is being completed during the turnover process before the new household members move in. Through the tempo program, residents are temporarily relocated to a hotel of their choice, while certified vendors safely remove lead-coated surfaces. Movers assist with packing and transporting belongings if it's necessary, and residents receive a gift card with a meal allowance for meal expenses throughout their stay at the hotel. During the abatement, vendors use strictly safety measures such as wet scraping, chemical stripping, or full component replacement to eliminate lead dust hazards. Work areas are fully sealed, HEPA vacuums and protective gear are used, and all debris is properly bagged, labeled, and disposed. Once the work is completed, our team conducts a clearance inspection. Dust wipe samples are collected and analyzed by a certified lab to ensure lead levels fall below clearance thresholds. Only when the apartment passes these tests, we authorize residents to return home, ensuring their space is safe, clean, and lead-free. After the abatement, residents will receive another letter called Notice of Hazard Reduction Letter, confirming that lead has been abated and the unit has been cleared. Lead abatement is the process we use to permanently eliminate lead hazards. It's not a temporary fix, like painting over a surface. The goal is to completely remove lead-based paint or the materials coated with it. There are two main ways we do it. First, paint removal. This means our certified vendors strip lead paint using wet methods or chemicals removers to keep dust from spreading. Throughout the job, they use HEPA filter vacuums and the entire work area is sealed off with heavy plastic sheeting, and every piece of debris is bagged, labeled, and properly disposed. The second approach we're using is a component replacement. In some cases, it's faster and safer to remove and replace entire item instead of trying to strip the paint off. These, to keep residents safe, the work zone stays under containment, so no dust escapes. Residents are temporarily relocated while the work happens. Once the work is finished, our team conducts a clearance inspection again, and the resident can remove safely home. Lead abatement at NYCHA is a massive ongoing effort, one of the largest of its kind in the country. As of this month, we fully abated 15,309 apartments out of 58,017 that tested positive. That's about 27% of all positive units. That means roughly 41,500 apartments still needs to be addressed, and every single one represents a family and a home we're working to make safer. Right now, our teams are completing between 350 and to 400 abatements each month, and we're planning to keep increasing that pace as new capacity and resources come online. This is not a short-term project. It's a long-term commitment. Our 20-year plan runs through 2039, ensuring that every single apartment that tested positive will be abated and brought to a lead-free standard. So when we talk about abatement, we're not just talking about construction. We're talking about a sustained citywide effort to eliminate lead hazards across one of the largest housing portfolios in the nation. Some of you might already know Tempo. Tempo is one of the most important programs we have for speeding up lead abatement in occupied apartments. What makes Tempo special is that it prioritizes the most vulnerable households, especially those with children under 6 who live in or regularly visit the unit. Tempo is not just about abatement, it's about communication and trust. We do extensive outreach, phone calls, door knocking, community awareness events. We want every eligible resident to understand what the program is, how it works, and most importantly, that it's designed to keep their family safe. We also run a 5-day-a-week call center where residents can easily enroll, ask questions, or check on the status of their apartment while abatement is underway. The call center is really the bridge between residents and our field teams, keeping everyone informed, supported, and reassured throughout the process. Here's how it works. Once a unit tests positive for lead, our system, Maximal, automatically generates an abatement work order. That work order goes straight to Tempo for outreach, from where the Tempo team contacts the resident, explains the test results, and discusses the next steps for abatement. If the resident agrees to participate, we schedule a walkthrough where we review what work involves and set a tentative relocation date. During that visit, we also talk about hotel options and any special needs the household might have, things like pets, medical conditions, or mobility concerns. On the day of the relocation, the resident received a relocation package. This includes a gift card for meals, a transportation voucher, and clear instruction for the process. The resident provides us with a spare key so that vendors can access the units while they're away. Once abatement is complete and the work is inspected, test swipes are performed, and the unit passes clearance, the resident is notified that their home is safe to return to. So Tempo really represents the heart of our work, a program that brings together outreach, safety, logistics, and compassion, all to make sure that residents can come back home to a truly lead-safe home. The next slide is the slide with the flyer for Tempo and how you can reach us. There is a phone number to a call center. It operates 5 times a week. There's also some Saturdays that they're open, and you can also send an email to the provided email and somebody will get back to you. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about relocation because I feel like the most concerns are about relocation. We know, we've heard histories and we spoke to many residents, and we know that the relocation can feel very uncomfortable, leaving your own home and being relocated, not knowing about where your belongings go. So typically, a residence is moved for lead abatement for anywhere from 7 to 10 days. If there isn't any events that would cause an extension, we could say that an average days that they're being relocated for lead for is 7 to 10 days. We cover the essentials. We provide a transportation voucher for the resident from their apartments to the hotels, and give meal gift cards so that they can purchase food while they're being at the hotel. If needed, movers are involved. They can help packing and transporting belongings from an apartment to a storage facility or an apartment to a hospitality unit, because we also have cases where we relocate the residents to hospitality units rather than hotels. The residents also have options to stay with their family during the abatement. In this case, if the movers are needed, their belongings are being put into storage for the length of the lead abatement. Throughout the process, our relocation specialists stay in touch with the residents. They're being provided with a phone number that they can call to and inquire about their lead abatement status, if there's any extensions, answer their questions. Our team also checks in with the residents, provide them with updates, and make sure the residents have everything they need while they're away. Once clearance test is confirmed and the unit is safe, we coordinate the residents' return home, which means that on the day of their return, the movers will bring their belongings. They're gonna be provided. We're gonna return the spare key. It might not be the same day, but the spare key will be returned to the resident. We also understand that this is a temporary disruption to the residents, but I guess we just want to say that it's worth it. That small inconvenience of being outside of unit for 7 to 8 days, it's really worth to have your unit fully abated and lead free, and it's worth for everybody, not only for the children. We have children visiting the units. We might have children visiting units, so I feel like it's very good to think, future wise when it comes to those abatements. I know that we have a lot of residents saying that we're outside the vulnerable populations, we're already seniors, we don't want that abatement, but I think that this is very important to understand that it's for everybody. It's not only for the children.
Okay. Mr. Hall and Ms. Lino, any questions on abatement or relocation?
Yeah, I want to know if a family is in a hotel, do they have a number that they can contact 24/7 for any unforeseen circumstances? I can't create one, however, because you are relocating them, all right? And they're in a foreign environment, as far as they're concerned, you've given them the essentials, but sometimes there are exceptions to the rules, something may happen. Is there a number that they're given that they can contact all night long in case something were to transpire?
We don't have a 24-hour available.
You don't?
No, call center. Although, if the resident leaves a voicemail, we're gonna address it first thing in the morning. I wouldn't know what type of an emergency.
Well, I don't wanna create one. I'm just saying, I just wanted to know if something were to happen 2 a.m. in the morning and they were in the hotel, what references do you have, assurances do you have to take care of the circumstances? And this is not the norm, but we gotta be realistic. I mean, cause you're putting them in a foreign set of circumstances.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we would do to help them in the hotel at 2 a.m, but they can always contact the CCC, which is 24/7, and there's always a on-call Healthy Homes person available. So if a call comes in that's extremely urgent that cannot wait till 8 a.m. the next morning, the operations chief who is on call will reach out to the Healthy Homes on-call person and we'll figure out what is needed to make sure that the resident is accommodated.
Okay, so you have a Healthy Homes person
Yes,
within the confines of the 24-hour.
correct. There's a
Okay.
Healthy Homes person who's on call 24/7.
Okay, I mean, that's the step in the direction that I'm alluding to.
Yeah.
No,
So
okay.
I don't know exactly like the what if
I
scenario,
don't
but
have- yeah.
we'll figure it out. If they
No.
absolutely need something to be accommodated at 2 a.m, they could reach out, through the CCC and it would eventually make its way to us and we would figure out what to do.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Lino?
Yeah, so I just wanted to share that there were 2 residents that actually had a great experience this year that had to go through the relocation. I was a part of, assist them with the process, and they were really happy. So I'll give y'all credits to that. Kudos to y'all.
Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
Thank you, it's very important to hear those stories as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Lino. Other questions, anything online? Okay, all right, go ahead, thanks.
Alright, so we're very proud on our progress, that we've made since the 2019 HUD agreement, combining abatements and negative XRF results. More than 86,800 apartments are now classified as lead-free. This figure includes 15,309 full abatements and 71,547 apartments that tested negative. Each month, we complete hundreds of abatements and temporary relocations. Testing and abatement follows the new 0.5 milligram per centimeter square standard. Transparency is key. We publish regular reports and dashboards so residents can track our progress. While much more work remains, especially in the 41,517 positive units awaiting abatement, we're moving steadily towards a lead-free future. In some cases, full abatement has to be phased over time. Just because we have so many positive units, it's just impossible to abate them all at once. That's where interim controls come in. These are the measures we use to reduce potential exposures while residents wait for permanent removal. We approach interim control through several ongoing initiatives that work together to keep homes safe. One of them is the annual visual assessment. Annual visual assessment is completed in every unit that still has lead-based paint or hasn't been fully cleared or assessed. Inspectors look closely at high-risk surfaces like windows, doors, walls, checking for peeling or chipping paint, or friction points that might generate dust. If a problem is found, repairs are made. The work orders for addressing those issues are being created in the system. Second, whenever maintenance or repair work is done that could contribute disturb painted surfaces, even something like fixing plumbing behind the wall, our team performs dust samplings afterwards. This confirms that the area is clean and safe before the area could be reoccupied by the residents. Third, every other year we conduct risk assessment, which is more comprehensive evaluation of units, common areas, and building exteriors. These assessments help us identify and prioritize locations that need attention before minor issues turn into hazards. Interim controls can also include repainting or sealing damaged areas, repairing friction surfaces, and deep cleaning to remove lead hazards. These actions don't eliminate lead permanently, but they significantly reduce exposure risks and protects residents, especially young children, while we plan and schedule full abatement. Our team continue to monitor the effectiveness of these measures through follow-up inspections and dust testing, ensuring that interim controls remain reliable over time. Ultimately, our goal is always the same: to move from interim control to complete abatement as quickly as resources and scheduling allow. Interim controls are the bridge that keeps residents safe until we can deliver permanent lead-free homes. Under both federal and local law, any apartment that has presumed or confirmed lead-based paint must receive an annual visual assessment. During the visual assessment inspections, our certified staff carefully examine all painted surfaces for signs of peeling, cracking, chipping, or friction wear, especially around windows, doors, baseboard walls. If we find any deterioration, it immediately triggers interim controls measures to repair the problem and prevent exposure. Visual assessments are a major part of NYCHA's ongoing lead safety strategy and are broken down into several categories: units, common areas, daycare and community centers, and exterior spaces and soil. These assessments are essential for catching early signs of deterioration before they become health risks. They also help us plan larger abatement work, prioritize developments most in need, and ensure residents remain safe year after year. It's one of the simplest but most important tools we have for preventing lead exposure. And I just wanted to mention that we do hear a lot of voices from the residents that our lead inspections are reoccurring and small complaints. I just had it, like the lead people were just here. There is many programs that run concurrently, and all of them are of the same importance. That's why we always encourage residents to allow us access, just because those inspections usually trigger other actions behind them. So even though somebody's just had a visual assessment inspection, and we would like to access for XRF inspection, it's very important to provide us with that access.
Mr. Hall?
That is very problematic. And I'm saying that because I've heard that so many times. Someone was just here 3 weeks ago, and now somebody's coming back. I had one of your supervisors call me to get into an apartment because the lady just ignored him. And I had to break the ice. But mostly, everyone's not gonna do that. And is there a way in which you can strategize some type of direction where we're talking about lead, we're trying to offset lead? This person could be a lead specialist or a person who can start the communication or the transparency with a particular apartment or a particular family. There's gotta be some type of structure, because we have folks knocking on doors. 3 weeks later, we're talking another part of the house, somebody else is knocking on doors. And that's why you're getting a lot of distance in many respects, especially the people who come latter, not earlier, but latter. And these are veterans, people have been here 40, 50 years. And they say, how many times are you gonna do this? And you can't provide an adequate answer because you got this guy that did this, and this one's coming to do that, and this one ain't even get here yet. That's a problem. That's a serious problem. And it's nothing that you could take for granted, and I'm very happy I have Miss Sullivan's phone number. I don't wanna harass her. See this, but this is what I'm saying, you know? And a lot of people won't know, well, you can contact Miss Sullivan, let Miss Sullivan know. They don't know. But the fact of the matter is, that has to be streamlined. Now, that's a work in progress that I think, your folks have to do in the best interest of NYCHA residents. Because there's enough issues. I'm already complaining because the stuff that you're feeding me, it won't get to all of my residents, because there's some people who are my residents who don't want to hear nothing I got to say. So, you gotta reach everyone because of severity, and I understand that. But that's something that you're gonna have to work on also, because I've heard this so many times. I just did this 3 weeks ago. I thought I was done, and now here you are, somebody else is knocking. And they don't even know about the people who knocked 3 weeks ago. That's a problem.
So this is, as Carolina mentioned, one of the biggest complaints that we receive, right? Residents are fatigued with the lead program and all of our requirements and access, wishes that we have to get into the units. Unfortunately, this is the way the laws are written. So we are trying to comply with federal, state, and local laws. They all have different timings for the inspections, and they all have different certification. So it can't be the same person who's doing the XRF, can't do the visual, can't do the risk assessment. The risk assessment happens biannually, every other year. The visual happens annually. The XRF only needs to happen once unless they lower the threshold, which they just did, and now we have to do it again. So we are just trying to comply with the laws that are imposed upon us. And I understand that it's a big disturbance to the residents, but this is why we come out and try to educate people on what is needed. But this is what I always tell people, just let us abate your unit and then you're done, right? The way out of the lead game is abatement. So once we get in and abate, we don't have to do dust wipes after our P work is done. You don't have to do the visual assessment. You're not in the pool for risk assessment. We don't have to do any more XRFs or paint chips. So that's why we encourage the people, if you have a positive unit or you haven't allowed us access for testing, let us in, let us abate, and then you're done. So that's really the bottom line here. That's what I tell residents who tell me that they're tired of me being in their unit.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to state that because I've heard it so many times, and I get it. I don't want to hear laws because laws goes into the word politics, and then here we go, and you don't even know who your next mayor is going to be. But nevertheless, if I go into the laws, then people just think that it's a slam dunk and it's not effective, and we got to keep it simple. And when you talk about lead and the severity or the lack thereof, that's keeping it simple. But once you start saying, but it's the law that gives me a right to have 20 people banging on my doors in 3-week intervals, it becomes a problem.
Unfortunately, that is the reason why we are banging on the doors, right? So it is a heavily regulated subject. But the simple answer is let me abate and then you're out. And then I don't have to knock on the door again. So.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Ms. Lino?
So I just wanted to make a suggestion, and because I understand that you have to follow compliance. We have different generations, okay? We got the baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, or everyone is on social media. NYCHA has a Facebook page and a Instagram page. Majority of these residents are on there responding comments and things like that. I think that maybe in terms of explaining and the different types of inspections, explain it on social media, right? So people know that maybe a senior may not go on there, but someone who's much younger, who's always on social media can actually relate it to someone who's a senior. So that I would suggest that, like explaining the different types of inspections and when it's actually done and the reason why you're doing it. I think that will be great. NYCHA is always posting about all these other stuff. We could do the same thing in terms of that.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ms. Lino. Other questions or comments on visual assessment? Other comments on okay.
Alright, so I'd like to move on to our quality checks. At every step of the process, whether it's an XRF testing, abatement, or interim controls, quantity assurance is built into it. We don't just perform work, we verify it, document it, and hold ourselves accountable for the highest safety standards. QA isn't just about paperwork or passing an inspection, but it's also about trust. Every data point, every lab result, and every clearance letter represents a family depending on us to get it right. That's why this level of oversight applies across everything we do. Every XRF inspection report is being reviewed for accuracy, every single one. Every abatement record is validated by our internal auditors, and every interim control is logged and tracked to make sure it's being followed up. Behind the scenes, our QA team checks calibration records on XRF devices, reviews lab results for consistency, and monitors vendors' performance trends. It's a constant feedback loop, measure, verify, improve, to make sure the system never slips. We take quality extremely seriously because the goal isn't just compliance, it's confidence. We want residents to know that when they walk back into their home, it's not just cleaner, it's been tested, verified, certified, abated, and truly lead-free. That's the standard we hold ourselves to every single day. How residents can help us achieve lead-free NYCHA. Achieving a lead-free NYCHA is truly a partnership. We can only get there if residents stay engaged and work with us every step of the way. First, stay engaged. When we call, text, or leave a notice about testing, abatement, or surveys, please respond. Let us know if there is children under 6 in your home or ones that regularly visit. That information helps us prioritize your apartment for Tempo program and other programs. Second, report any issues right away. If you see feeling paint, dust, or damaged surfaces, don't wait. Early reporting allows us to step in quickly with interim control before the problem gets worse. Third, complete the household composition survey. It might seem simple, but it helps us identify apartments where kids live, and that's critical for scheduling inspections and abatement. And finally, ask questions. If you're unsure about anything, the process, the schedule, or what to expect, reach out to the Hazard Control Department or the Tempo hotline. We're here to help. Every call you answer, every form you complete, and every issue you report helps us move faster. Not just for your family, but for your neighbors too. Together, we can make every NYCHA safe home lead-free. And I'll conclude my presentation if there are any additional questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kozlowski, very much. Final questions on the
Yeah,
issue of lead, Mr. Hall?
Yeah, Ms. Sullivan, I mean, I'm very happy that I have your card. If I were to contact you and say, I don't want anything done in my apartment, would that go for all of the individuals who knock on doors? Because it wouldn't. Because you can only get rid of some, or what's the status there?
Yeah, so all of our programs are voluntary, right? I can't force you to participate in them, but by law, we have to create the work order and we have to attempt that unit. So we would still create it and we would still likely knock your door, but you can refuse access and we would just mark it as resident refused or tenant not home.
Okay, I wanted to get some clarity on that because there's so many people that have been complaining about that. And some don't even want to be bothered because they have no children. And I wanted to categorize them versus the others who just complain because so many people are knocking on the door. But there are some people who just don't want to be bothered and they have no children, or they don't have to deal, children do not come in the household. Because I realize how important that is. In fact, I'm one of them. I don't have kids coming into the house, so I don't have the window guards. But
Yeah, so-
yet and still, I understand.
While we emphasize lead as a hazard for children, it's also a hazard for adults, and so we do encourage all residents to let us in and perform the mandated inspections and testing and any interim controls that we are required to do. Like I mentioned, if you let us abate, if your unit is positive and you let us abate, that's it. We're out of that unit. So that is the path forward ultimately.
No, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lino, any final questions on this topic?
So we'll have a conversation. I just want to get back to my apartment. So 2 of the rooms were tested positive in 2 of the bedrooms. One was at the, I don't know what you call it. What is this called? I don't know.
Beam?
The
Beam? The beam?
beam, thank you, yes, a beam, and then I forgot what the other one is, right? So let's say, for example, I decide I want to go to the hotel. So do y'all close off just those 2 rooms and then we still have access to the other rooms? Like, how does that work?
So once you're relocated, you will not have access to your apartment. So we encourage residents to take anything of value or anything that you'll need during your relocation, such as medications or important documents, with you to the hotel. However, if we are just abating 1 or 2 rooms in the unit, we do kind of enclose it. If you think of like a tent almost, we enclose it so that the other areas of the units are not impacted by the work that we're doing in the areas where we're doing the abatement. But the resident will not have access to that area, as we consider the work area only for certified staff until we have that dust wipe clearance.
Okay, got it. And can you give me, because I'm not a, construction person, every time, like when you speak to property management, they say, if it's not disturbed, right, what does that mean?
So if you look at this wall right here, this paint, it's nicely painted. I don't see any cracking, bubbling, chalking, chipping on this wall. This wall, for let's say this example, has lead-based paint. This is not a lead-based paint hazard. So it may have lead-based paint, but we don't consider this a hazard. We only consider it a hazard once it starts to be deteriorated in some sort of way. We may also consider something a hazard if there's a friction or an impact to that component, or it's a chewable surface. So if you think of a windowsill, that's at the perfect height for a 3-year-old to get up on there and gnaw on that windowsill. That's what we consider a chewable surface. And even though it's intact, we may say that's a hazard component because it could be accessed by a child and chewable. So when we're doing visual assessments or risk assessments in a unit, we're only solely looking for hazards in that unit. But when we're doing the XRF inspection, we're going in with that instrument that you saw in this picture, and we're testing all components that we're required to test. So that's considered a comprehensive XRF test, and at that point, we're trying to determine where all the lead-based paint in the unit is, whether the surface is deteriorated or not.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. And then I had one more other question. In regards to the, in terms of the positive and negative results that you all had, is that only for the developments that's still under traditional public housing, or is it a comparison between the public housing and the RAP people who transition to the PAC RAP? Just wanted to know that.
So the universe of 147,184 units was made at December 2023. So that was the units that were within the public housing portfolio, the traditional public housing portfolio, as of that date. Some of those units may have transitioned out after that date, and those the work needed in those units will be handled by the PAC partners in those. So that 147,000 number may consist of some PAC units now.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you. Further questions?
No.
Well, thank you very much to Healthy Homes and the Lead Hazard Control Department for the presentation, and to Mr. Hall and Ms. Lino for your engagement on the topic today. Thank you very much. We're going to turn now to the second item on the agenda, which is going to be a presentation on safety and security from Chief Secreto. Chief Secreto, thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? And one of the things that I wanted to touch on, and may touch on the mold and the lead inspections a little bit. We have, in one of the developments, there's a robbery pattern where the perpetrators are wearing NYCHA apparel. So they're knocking on doors, and NYCHA, and some people have been fooled into opening their doors, and we've had several robberies at this, it happens to be Cypress houses. So one of the things that we're gonna do is, and we did it last year when we had crime down here on the Lower East Side with people wearing NYCHA apparel. We actually happen to be a NYCHA worker. And this is where the lines get blurred. So when HUD say mandates that we do these inspections, sometimes, we're knocking on doors, people aren't expecting us. So what we are doing with Cypress, and we're gonna expand it to other developments, we did it last year, is put out a sheet. Maybe it's with, it's online or with rent, when we distribute the rent, paperwork, put down suggestions on what you should do first of all, if you didn't put in a ticket for a repair, then you shouldn't be expecting someone from NYCHA to knock on your door. That's the first red flag. NYCHA employees all have ID cards. We'll put a example of what an ID card should look like, and you have the right to demand that the person shows you that ID card. And then you could always call your management office. Listen, someone's ringing my doorbell. I didn't put in a ticket. I'm not expecting anyone. Is this person legitimate or not? So that's with Cypress, and we're going to expand that to other developments. And I bring it up because there's been conversation recently about these HUD mandated mold and lead inspections, and it's kind of like a surprise visit on people's doors, and we don't like that. Safety and security is not a fan of that. But talking to operations, Dan Green and his people, this is mandated. So, and I'm kind of uncomfortable asking the police department to hang around for a couple of hours while we knock on everybody's door. So, I say all that to say it is an issue of knocking on people's doors. I understand the importance of it, but I wish there was a better way to do it so that we're not surprising and knocking on people's doors. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Hall, you have a question on that item?
No, I agree with you, which is why I get nosy and get involved with whatever is being done. Because I try to tell my board, I want folks to hang around, because I look for those people who want to knock on doors later on and try to act like they are who they are not. And this is what has been happening. And they see the vulnerability of a lot of residents, and that's when they try to do that. And it's funny it's coming from you, because we had a problem with people smoking weed in the hallway, and it's a no-no. Now, I just found out I'm waiting to go to a PSA 8 meeting, and the police ran all past me because they got a call in the building. 2 kids got robbed. They said, come smoke down on the 3rd floor. And the kids said, not used to smoking. And these are latchkey kids. Start smoking weed. Next thing you know, they got robbed. All right. Mm-hmm. So I get it. I try to keep up with the trend and stay in the background, but yet and still be in the know-how. Mm-hmm. Because those residents, as they knock on doors and they want to check this or take swats and whatever they do, other people are looking. They said, if they can do that, I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. And once they're in, they're in. So I get it.
Okay. So we're going to try to put something out, whether it's online or in black and white, to keep people abreast of kind of what's going on.
Yeah, and also social media, as Ms. Lino mentioned, because in some instances, and I hate to say this, but it is true, sometimes the children are smarter than the parents. And it takes that kid to say, Mommy, you need to look at this so that you know the difference between this and that, because that ain't right. Mm-hmm. And children are innocent. And you know what? They're growing, but I've seen several instances.
No,
so that's the case.
100%.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I just want to go into some of the things that my office is doing. And I think sometimes people think that the Office of Safety and Security are police, which we're not. Some of us are former police, but we're not police anymore. So I will go over some of the things that we do in collaboration with the police department, though. I have a good relationship with all the PSAs, and in some cases it's a precinct that covers the development. Maybe it's the 3-4 and Dykeman, maybe it's the 4-4 and Monsignor Air Rights, but there are precincts that cover housing. It complicates things a little bit, but nonetheless, we have to have a relationship with them, and we do. So one of the things, well, I'll start with what's prevalent right now. There's vicious dogs, right? Every time when we go to a meeting, people want to know about, what's NYCHA doing about vicious dogs. And our role basically is tenancy action, right? We can't go in the apartment and take the dogs out, but tenancy action is what our role. And I'll talk about what we're doing with other agencies, being Department of Health and NYPD. We've partnered with them to try and get some of these dogs out. So there was a vicious dog attack in, I'm gonna say, it was Queensbridge. And a lot of times what has been the NYPD's response is and a lot of times when an incident happens, people go to the hospital. They're not sticking around and do a police report. They go to the hospital. And now a couple of days go by, they get out of the hospital, they want to do a police report. The police department was, listen, we don't have the authority to go in and take a dog out of an apartment that an incident happened a week ago, a month ago, whatever. So now that this incident in Queensbridge was so egregious, when they saw the damage that was done to this woman's face by this pit bull, they said, we gotta do something, you know. And so the three agencies got together and we had meetings about what we're gonna do. So there's a agriculture and markets law, section 123 of the agriculture and markets law, that allows for anyone to petition a court to remove a vicious animal. Doesn't have to be a dog, it could be any kind of animal, but in most cases it's a dog. So the strategy is to use this law to take these dogs, these vicious dogs. So the first case was already done. It did not involve NYCHA. It's called the Gibson case. It was in Far Rockaway. 2 German Shepherds mauled 2 residents of this development. It's not housing. So the Department of Health petitioned the court, and the court signed an order to remove the dog. But I'm sure most people on the call could probably finish the rest of this story. When they went to get the dog, the owners and the dogs are gone. They're nowhere to be found. So went back to court again, and one of the victims testified, was very impressive before the court, before the judge. The dog owner, of course, did not show up. So there's a standing order right now for those dogs to be brought in at some point, but they're nowhere to be found. So that case is going to be the like template going forward for other cases that are in NYCHA, because people are upset that these dogs are mauling people, biting people, and the next day you're seeing them being walked, probably off a leash or what have you. So just so you know, and our role in that is to start tenancy action. Where these dogs are mauling people, biting people, we're starting tenancy action. And then there are also complaints of dogs that have not bit anybody yet, but are threatening or what have you. We also want to start tenancy action on those as well. And I'll go back to when I lived in housing. My family got me a little puppy, and the neighbor called up on me. I had to get rid of that dog or my family was going to lose the apartment. Times have changed now. People, have dogs, they have pit bulls, which happen to be a banned breed in NYCHA. They have pit bulls, and there's no accountability for them. And that's where NYCHA, needs to step up. And that's what, our plan is. You have a question there, Mr. Hall?
Mr. Hall.
Yes, I just became the chair of PSA8. And I found out that we no longer have NCOs, no neighborhood coordination officers. We now have Q teams, which is quality of life. And I'm an aggregate of that quality of life, which is great. A quality of life is a wrongdoing on the premises, affecting the quality. Well, dog doodle is a big quality of life issue. And it cannot be enforced, from what I hear, by PSAs, because the law department of NYCHA has too many loopholes within its confines. Now, I don't know, could you look into that? Because people are the dog is defecating and they just go home, And we have the things to clean, we have everything there, and these people are getting away with it. And now I'm hearing people are coming from the outside, walking their dogs on nice property, and then going home. So can that be addressed?
That's true. And last week, I have quarterly meetings with the NYCHA operations people out in the field and NYPD, the PSAs, each borough. So I had 4 meetings last week. Queens and Staten Island is combined, Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn. And that was one of the things. And this topic of the vicious dogs took up most of the call. But we also talked about a lot of these dogs that are attacking people are off the leash.
Yeah.
People walk their dogs on the roof, people let their dogs out of the apartment, run down the hallway. So my question and my ask of NYPD, and and I was NYPD at one time, my guys wrote that summons. Guys and ladies wrote that summons for having your dog off a leash, even if you didn't have the tag, the dog tag or whatever, and certainly for defecating, you didn't pick it up. At some point, NYPD, I don't know if they became a kinder, gentler department, they didn't want to give that summons anymore, but I asked them if they could give that summons, and they seemed to be amenable to it. Because I think that would, the dog poop is an issue, but I didn't want to confuse them, because the more pressing issue for me is the dogs off the leash. But I was kind of greedy and asked for both.
Okay, well, we can look into this, because I see it, I did mention it, and I said, the law department, but I always contact the law department, I said, your value is so high economically, you should be able to have every one of these policies and procedures to subtract all of these wrongdoings.
I have to find out about that. I don't know that we have a say in whether they give that summons or they don't, because it's certainly to our advantage for that summons to be given. And I don't think, and I'm not saying, hey, give 100 summonses, give 50 summonses, but sometimes if you give one or two, it gets people's attention, like word gets out that, hey, Joe got a summons for his dog being off the leash, he had to pay $50. Maybe it has an impact on other people.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
And then some of the other things, homeless operations. So we do 3 a week. It's not a lot considering we have, a couple of hundred developments, but it's something. And I think what impresses people is that we're not just kicking homeless people out of the buildings, but we're offering them services. So whether it's mental health, drug treatment, or going to the shelter, we offer them something. But more times than not, they decline, and we ask them to leave the building. They're escorted off the property. The problem with that is somewhat of a cat and mouse game. When we drive off, they come back. And, the DAs, they don't want to prosecute for trespass unless there's some additional crime coupled with that. So some of the people we know on a first name basis. Up in Marble Hill, there's one guy we know by first name. Morris House, another one, we know another guy by first name, but they can't stay. It's not safe for the residents, and they have to leave. So far this year, and we do 3 operations a week: Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday we do it with a nonprofit organization called Breaking Ground. And we've done 380 operations so far this year. We've encountered 458 people, 75 accepted service, and we made 6 arrests. But that's something, we try to do more of. And that is Department of Homeless Services, NYPD, and NYCHA. And we signed a memorandum of understanding about 2.5 years ago. Prior to that, homeless services could not come in our buildings. So if we went with PD and we wanted to offer services or whatever, we had to bring the person outside to the sidewalk, and homeless services were able to talk to them. Now homeless services comes with us. They send social workers, and it's a positive thing. I wish we could do more. I wish it was better, but it is what we have right now. We also have collaborated with NYPD to recover apartments. A lot of apartments are taken over, whether it might be a move-out apartment, it might be someone's in a nursing home, they take over the apartment. So we hooked up again with NYPD probably about 2.5 years ago, and they started what's called a reclamation unit. And prior to that, whenever there was a case like this, NYCHA would go to court. And it would take a couple of years, 2 years to go through the court process. But what they were able to do was make a separation, make a distinction between people that had some kind of status to that apartment, maybe a remaining family member, or they lived with their spouse, and the spouse was the leaseholder. They weren't on the lease. That spouse passed away, and now they had some kind of connection to that apartment that had to be determined in court. But now there's some people that just take over apartments, drug dealers, gang members, and the homeowner, the tenant of record, and this started in Manhattanville was the first case. The tenant of record was on the street homeless, and the drug dealers had taken over his apartment. So we were able to make the distinction who had some kind of rights and who had no rights. So far, they've taken, I'm gonna say about 320 apartments in the 3 years we've been working with them. So it comes out to about 100 apartments a year. So right now, year to date, about 106 apartments that the NYPD has recovered. And they work again in collaboration with the law department from NYCHA and the NYPD. The third thing that I have on my list here is Amazon lockers. And Mr. Holwick, we came up to your development. We're in now, and this is again 2.5 years. A lot of this stuff started in the last 2.5, 3 years. We are in 109 developments now. 871 lockers. Number of packages delivered so far, 866,000. And at those current numbers, we're projected, or Amazon's projected, to deliver 1 million packages by the end of the year. And that's impressive because I still get calls of people complaining that their packages have been stolen. Can you look at the cameras? Can your people look at the cameras? So it's still an issue. And then there are some companies that don't use Amazon. So for example, the Chinese company Temu, they don't use Amazon lockers. So their packages, they put the packages, and believe it or not, some of these delivery people put the packages in the lobby and take off, So, those packages never hit the ground either. So, you got a question, Mr. Hall? Or?
Yeah. First of all, I'm very happy that you did get up to Gun Hill. You're gonna finish putting
Twice.
Yeah, which is great. It's funny because the Temu packages and Temu gives great stuff, and there are folks right now waiting for the packages to be dropped so they can steal them, and that's what's going on. I'm trying to create what I call watchdogs, people who just look out for packages once they hit the floor, but it's quite problematic, really. But another instance I have, and this goes back into crime in the housing apartments. I have a 19-year-old kid that hit his mother. So what the mother did, she's scared. So she's got a decent job in a hospital. She runs away. She leaves this 19-year-old kid in the apartment by himself. Now we got everybody with a mask in the hallway smoking weed. All right? This is in one of my buildings. All right? And I'll talk to you about that. But this is what happens. And I told my vice president, because she's the one who alerted me to this, you better go to the hospital and go to HR and let them know that this mother's abandoning the home, because this is not right. This is not right. Because the kid, he doesn't know what to do. So what did he do? Open the door. Here come the gangs. So they're all out there.
I would like to talk to you offline about that.
Yeah.
But we had something like that about, I'm gonna say 2 years ago. I don't remember the development. It might have been Forest, where, we were getting a complaint about that. And sure enough, there's a murder that happens in that apartment.
Yeah.
But the family left because they're scared of the son, and he's bringing, all his friends around, his miscreants. And so that's not gonna get better. So, that's something, I'd like to talk to you offline about.
They're being cool because down the hall we have another gentleman who's missing. Now it's the detectives are involved because he hasn't been seen. And this is amazing. He used to put the flies up in my building. Now he's disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
I'm gonna talk to you offline.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. The security guards and the fire guards. All right, that's under Office of Safety and Security as well. And right now, a couple of these developments, these senior buildings have gone rad or packed. So we're now down to 49. When I got here, there was like 65, say. Now there's 49. And those security guards are there in the lobbies. They're just supposed to do access control. They don't do verticals. They don't walk the floors. But the fire guards, which we also have. And that number was 153 sites a year and a half ago. 153 sites, 24 hours a day. And this was when the standpipe that conducts the water is impaired, maybe it's leaking, it's burst or whatever, they gotta cut the water off, or the fire alarms or the sprinklers are impaired, we have to put a guard there 24/7, or in the case of a community center, while the community center is open, someone has to be there to be alert for fire, smoke, any kind of condition where we gotta get people out of there and get the fire department in. That went from 153 sites down to, it's now 12. So, I don't have enough fingers to count the money, the millions that's being saved, and the credit goes largely to our fire safety director, Joe Terranova, and his team, that they came in and fixed a lot of the things, because, believe it or not, it's a lot cheaper to fix what's broken than it is to put a guard there 24/7. So that's something that worked out well. Resident watch. We have resident watch, and we're doing trainings right now. The police crime prevention unit is coming in training our people on how personal safety, vigilance, how to report incidents effectively to the police department. And you mentioned, Mr. Hall, the Q teams. I think the verdict's still out on them. Some people tell me they're terrible, and some people say it's good. And they work off of 311 data. So if you call 311 about, or someone calls 311 about the guy smoking marijuana in the building, you're more likely to get a response from these Q teams. That's, the message that they put out, call 311. But people like me and you like to have a person that we can call at PSA 8 or the 44 or whatever, and I wouldn't discourage you from still doing that. One of the PSA 6, I think it was, has a email address that you can email the condition or whatever, and we've tried that, and it's effective, it works. I don't know that all of them have it, but PSA 6 has it. That's it. CCTV, that's still under me, where we install, we repair, we maintain the cameras. Right now, we have a couple of projects we're doing up at Jackson, Morris Senior Air Rights, putting in new cameras up there. And a lot of these RAD and PAC developments, when they go RAD or PAC, and they have our cameras, they turn over, within 6 months, they turn over the cameras and return our cameras to us, and we kind of repurpose them to other places that we're looking to put them. The resident watch, I touched on it, that we're doing the training right now. We have, I say about 1,640 volunteers. We're trying to also repurpose what they do, because a lot of people don't feel safe sitting in the lobby anymore. So we have captains that people report conditions to, and we also use the anonymous tip line. All right, that's number is 306-7027, 212-306-7027, where people can call, whether anything, these conditions that you mentioned, or even a wall in their house that needs work or whatever, and that's 24 hours, and within 24 hours we respond to the condition that is reported. And I have numbers. I don't have numbers on bikes. We also remove bikes, and the gas bikes, e-bikes, and some people have them outside their door. They're very dangerous, volatile, those lithium battery fires. But I've seen numbers from 70 to 500. I don't want to report the wrong number. So, people say, at the last meeting you gave the wrong number. So we do remove them. I'm not accurate on the number right now. But again, we have a truck that we use. We go out with NYPD. And when we get, and we do operations, sometimes we'll go to a couple of developments, grab 10 bikes. Sometimes we'll go and just get 1 bike. But they are dangerous. They don't belong in the hallways or what have you. And we collaborate again with PD and we remove them. So I'll get back to you on the accurate number. But just today, I don't want to give a number. Somewhere between 71 and 500 was what they gave me. I can't speak to that. So that's it.
All right, Chief Secreto, thank you very much for the presentation. We're a few minutes over time,
Okay.
but certainly appreciate your thorough presentation. If there are any, one or two last minute questions before we wrap up?
do.
Okay, Ms. Lino, please go ahead.
Yes, so, you shared a lot, thank you. I just wanna get back to and just have like a transparent conversation with you. I know that the last time that I was here, I seen you maybe about, I think it was like prior to the federal monitors going on break. And I know that there were people on the call, sharing their concerns in terms of criminal stuff that's happening in their neighborhood. So I just wanted to know, have you followed up with them?
I don't remember who it was, what it was, but when I get a complaint, I reach out to the PSA. All right, so I know all the captains. Like I said, we had quarterly calls, and we speak about the issues that come up. I don't remember necessarily what development or who that was that you're referencing, but I talked to the captains, and I think you got a new captain recently, PSA 1. Right, you're PSA 1, right?
I'm not sure where we at, but I'm just saying in terms of when the meeting that we had here, there were TA presidents that were on the Zoom, and they were sharing with you about stuff that was happening in their development. So I wanted to know if you had follow up with them. And not only that, I saw you at the July 30th meeting that they had for the elderly, the lease amendment for the senior builders only at 285 J Street, and there were also other residents that were there present and also on Zoom that were also complaining about in terms of what was going on in the development, and they have reached out to safety and security and nothing has been done. So my question to you, have you been following up with with the TAs and residents, what's happening in their development?
We do follow up, 100% we follow up. What we can fix, we do fix. But sometimes people are just, I don't want to say complaining, but they're venting. So it might not necessarily be something that they're pointing out. And that hearing that you mentioned, someone complained that, there was an incident, the police responded, where was safety and security? And I had found out about the incident probably 2 hours before. So, and the police actually called me and told me about the incident. So we collaborate with the police department. If somebody brings up something, if it's something that we can address, we certainly address it. I will go back and look and see what, incidents you're talking about. But a lot of times it's people venting. And that's why I started out my presentation as saying, officer safety and security is not police. So, if someone tried to rob you, that's a police matter, not necessarily officer safety and security. If we have cameras, we'll certainly go to the cameras, assist the police with the camera, give them copies of it, go to court and testify as to the authenticity of the footage or whatever. But a lot of the things that people bring up are police matters. So.
Thank you, Chief Secreto. Oh, Ms. Lino.
So the other thing, who is responsible when it comes to the keys and key fobs for residents entering into the buildings?
That's your management, but we'll assist them. Like, I don't know, what's the...
So the issue is, so I've had residents who, because in Gowanus, I'm not sure about the other developments, you have able to gain access with a key fob or with a key, right? I'm gonna give you one example. There was a resident who had an issue in terms of the key fob. I will send multiple emails to property management, who the point person is, several times, 10, 15 emails just to find about the person getting their key fob activated. It took her 3 months. Now, a second resident that's currently going through the same but different situation where she has a set of twins. When they gave out the key fob, they stated that she couldn't get it at that time. And then when but then on the paperwork, it stated that it was given to her, but they end up calling safety and security. I don't know who the safety and security person is, stated that those key fobs wasn't activated, right? Now, we are aware of that. So my thing is that she's supposed to get 2 key fobs for her, for her children, right? I sent this email about like a month ago. Why are we still waiting?
Okay. A lot of times people say that they sent something to Officer of Safety and Security and Secreto, what did you do? I don't know anything of what you're talking about right now, But we will talk offline, and I will straighten it out. Are the kids over 13 or?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so we'll get them the key fobs. That's not a big ask.
No, thank you. No, but I'm just saying in terms of property management, and this is not to you, I'm talking about property management. Your role is to make sure that each resident have their key fob. They coming to you and sharing information to you that they need access to the building or whatever. Your role, your responsibility is to make sure that you follow up with whichever department it is. I shouldn't have to keep sending 15 emails about certain thing that's so simple. Again, not towards you, I'm just saying when it comes to our property management, there needs to be some some sort of structure and some accountability, because my next question is, what is the definition of accountability to NYCHA? And transparency to NYCHA? They need to define that for me, because apparently it's not in alignment, right? What they say and the action is two totally different things.
I'm kind of smiling, not that I'm smiling at you or laughing at you,
No, I know.
but I send people emails and they don't respond to me, so I kind of understand what you're saying. I do, but we'll talk offline.
Thank you, Ms. Lino. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Chief Screeder, thank you for your presentation. We're now at time. Thank you, everyone, for a productive meeting today and for participating. Our next meeting of the CAC will take place on Monday, November 17th, 2025. Same time, same location. We will be sending out our usual reminders about that on email, and it'll be posted on our website. We're adjourned till then. Thank you very much.